Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Classic Comics. So, in recent months, we've seen comic pros finally starting to express concern about the state of the industry. One of my recent videos was about Gail Simone and her complaints about the state of comic books. Put a link to that video up in the corner. Over the summer, I did some other videos about comic pros and the comic press finally starting to admit that there's a problem, because we're increasingly seeing that sort of thing happen as well. But even these people tend to dance around the issue. Yes, things are concerning, but they're not terrible. No need to panic. Certainly no need for Marvel and DC to change what they're doing. Sales just need to come up a bit and everything will be fine. Mark Miller has been one of the few voices raising the alarm and saying things need to change significantly in order to avoid disaster. And comic shop owners have generally been the same way. Most have expressed concerns about the industry, but not saying that things are dire and that the industry is heading for trouble. But now we have a comic shop owner who is sounding the alarm in no uncertain terms and saying that Marvel and DC have got to change or the comic industry is doomed. And sooner than even I would have thought. This story is on Bounding into Comics, and it's by Phil Boyle. Boyle is the owner of Coliseum Comics in Orlando, Florida. And they've got several stores. So I'm guessing he's been in this game for a while and he didn't just show up in the last few years, so he knows what he's talking about. All right, now let's look at this. Comic retailer warns industry on brink of collapse unless major changes enacted. It's nearly 2024 and I am more than concerned. Marvel and DC, you blew it.
You blew it!
Or maybe you just succeeded in your plan to kill off an American art form of which you've been the able stewards of for 80 years. It's baffling that something so prolific was ushered to the chopping block and executed. Strong accusation? No, just the unvarnished truth, as new comic sales find new lows. Worse, you've gutted an army of passionate retailers who've worked in this biz for decades for close to poverty wages in many cases. To put such a system of advocates in every state and major city in America and around much of the world would cost a fortune. But it happened organically and all to your benefit. And in gratitude, you've strip mined what little profit there was in favor of short term goals and chasing corporate bonuses. We, the retailers, cultivated the fan base the same way the underappreciated creators created the precious IPs that have made their parent companies obscene amounts of money. It was a biosystem of fans feeding off the Wednesday excitement, eager to spend money not only on the comics that drew them in, but the t shirts, lunchboxes, and mouse pads with Spider Man or Batman on them. Fans, retailers, and creators have all suffered under the recent corporate mandates. Where did it go off the rails? It's not such a conundrum to anyone with two active brain cells and a list of back issues they need to complete their runs. Comics, first and foremost, have always been entertainment. Pure collectible entertainment, which justifies the cost to entertainment ratio. But along the way, the immediate sale and false bolstering of numbers through variant covers, convoluted events, and incessant reboots left the considerations of the fans behind. Character swapping, gender bending, and changing sexual orientation of beloved characters fell flat with the Wednesday Warriors who supported the industry for decades. The crowd of new readers the changes were meant to attract didn't translate to a one-for-one swap, leaving a declining customer base. To make things more difficult on the retail side, in a very deliberate abuse of both the ordering system and retailers' goodwill towards publishers, we constantly have to order two issues out rather than the next issue. This makes ordering a guess. Throw in 4 covers on issue number 5, then 6 on number 6, one of which is by Art Germ or another by Scotty Young. And then number 7 has 5 covers with neither artist, and 8 has a celebrity appearance cover, and it's a very constant and very deliberate shell game, forcing retailers to guess on nearly every next issue. How do we fix this, assuming that we can still pull the canoe back over the waterfall at this point? A friend of mine recently moved into a condo and took up an advisory position on the board. The pool was in need of repair, the roofs needed replacing, and the facades and landscaping had seen better days. There was no money to make the repairs, and the only solution was to add a $150 a month to everyone's condo fees to pay for the repairs. The meeting that followed the announcement was less than friendly as people complained about the extra costs. My buddy explained that everyone had been living off the equity in the condos and put no money into the condos, thereby devaluing them. And here we are in the comic industry facing the same conundrum. Marvel and DC have strip mined the comic industry for the better part of a decade, putting no money into the market that sustained them for years. Much like the condo association, an investment is needed by those who lived off the equity for years. If you want a market in 2 years, yes, 2 years tops, then the time to invest is now. Now, what do we need to revitalize this market? One, 399 comics. I would say 299, but we have increased rents, labor, and insurance costs to cover for, so 399. 499 and more is a non-starter with too many fans. Two, fewer covers. I know this will get some pushback from every corner, but without a focus, it's all about the value of the cover and not what's between them. Max of 2 covers. While you're at it, give us a hook to sell, not just another convention commission piece with no indication of what's inside the comic it covers. 3, editors who are editors. Too many stories are lackluster and agenda driven. Too many covers are con sketch drivel with no sales point, and too much interior art is amateurish. It's clear neither Marvel nor DC has a publishing plan beyond the current reboot. 4, the characters are iconic for a reason. The movies never got traction until they leaned into what made the characters decades long successes. Change is good for story, but inevitably you need to touch base with what brought them. Gender swaps, sexual orientation changes, and outright changes to who's in the suit are short term headline grabbers, but without long term sales, with very few exceptions. 5, tell stories without proselytizing. I've beaten this drum for a decade and more, but here we are chasing away a large portion of our customer base with every new tale as they want entertainment, not a serialized sermon. 6, limited new characters. Fresh blood is good, but it's become obvious that characters aren't organic to stories. They're shoehorned in for a bump in sales. Dance with who brung you, as the saying goes. 7, I'd ask for minimum advertised price, but we're not in that world anymore. You made deals with the devil, which is also on you. 8, here's the big one: discount and shipping. Marvel and DC screwed this market, so if you want to continue to have people dumb enough to labor 60 hours a week for poverty wages to sell and advocate for your IPs, you need to invest in that market. You strip mined, there's that word again, but it applies so precisely, all the cash out of the direct market, and retailers are bleeding from the bone. We need your investment or this market goes away. No, you can't just sell online, as the minimum production costs won't be met with online only. Investment means putting books on stands at a cost to you, not the people with the highest per issue cost. Set a minimum for each title by store. Every issue over that minimum is sold to brick and mortar retailers for 60 cents. This puts books on stands, minimizes cost to retailers, and helps print runs. Now, why should you listen to any of this? Because your livelihood is tethered to the retail community. Rome is on fire. Fiddle or get on the phone with some of your key retail partners and find out what it's like out here, but be prepared for some ugly stories. Without some immediate action, I see 25% of the retail stores closing at the end of the first quarter 2024. Wow. So 25% of stores shutting down by the end of first quarter 2024. Now, I'm not sure if he means the federal fiscal quarter, and if so, then we're talking about the end of January. But I'll assume he means the first 3 months of the year 2024. So we're talking the end of March. He's saying that by then, a quarter of comic shops in this country could close. And if he's accurate, then the situation is even worse than I thought it was. And he's saying the industry will be finished in 2 years or 2025. Again, even sooner than I thought. They really just don't seem to care one bit about the long term health of the industry and seem content to just pursue short term strategies to bilk the few remaining readers out of as much money as they can before the whole thing collapses. And I find it highly unlikely they're going to change now. They don't care. The comic industry has never been a business where the profit margins were huge. These companies have been losing money for a while now. but the money they lose is minuscule compared to how much Disney is losing on Disney Plus, or Warner Brothers Discovery is losing on Max. The corporations that own these comic publishers seem content to drive their customers away while also ripping them off as much as possible before the end comes. I do wish he was more specific about how he came to these conclusions. I mean, is he getting this from other comic shop owners? I would think so, but without more evidence, you can expect Marvel and DC to just ignore this and the comic press to dismiss his concerns. But if he's right, I mean, we're nearing the end for comics as we've known them since they left newsstands and went to the direct market in the early 90s, so about 30 years. It's just sad, but I mean, you can't help someone who doesn't want to be helped. Anyway, what do you think of his predictions? Is he right? Is the comic business going belly up in 2 years? Will we see a massive comic shops closing early next year? Or is he exaggerating and things aren't really that bad? Let me know in the comments, and before you leave, please like this video and sub to the channel, and check out some of my other videos while you're here, and I will see you all next time. Thanks for watching.